Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really alarming reality, youth substance abuse, and figuring out how we can actually empower our communities to build healthier generations. I am so glad you're joining me for this one. We're going to go way beyond the surface today to uncover the hidden mechanisms of addiction. We'll look at how these substances literally hijack the body, why young people are neurologically wired for this specific risk, and exactly what actionable steps we can all take to reverse this trend. Here's a quick look at our roadmap. We're covering the teenage vulnerability, the anatomy of abused substances, the fast track to addiction, long-term health consequences, and finally, spotting signs and prevention. Let's dive right in. Part 1. The teenage vulnerability. Let's look at why this specific window of time is so critical. Think about the ages of 12 to 18. We've all been there, right? During this time, adolescent brains are actively rewiring. It's a massive biological transformation, and it drives this really deep desire for adventure and a huge push for independence. Now, while this is an entirely normal part of growing up, it's also exactly what leaves them uniquely vulnerable to the allure of experimenting with drugs and alcohol. And honestly, it's a perfect storm. You've got these environmental pressures colliding head-on with biological vulnerability. I mean, academic demands weigh incredibly heavy on kids today. Plus, society and media are constantly glamorizing substance use, kind of making it look totally appealing and consequence-free. When you combine that with fragmented family support and the heavy, ever-present weight of peer influence, you've got a deeply high-risk environment for our youth. Part 2. Anatomy of abused substances. To really grasp this vulnerability, we need to understand what these chemicals actually do when they enter the body. They attack the central nervous system from entirely different angles. Take opioids, for instance. Derived from the poppy plant, these act as heavy depressants. They bind to specific receptors to drastically slow down bodily functions, suppressing breathing and pain, which rapidly leads to physical dependence. Then you have cannabinoids from the cannabis plant, which directly alter brain receptors, impacting memory, mood, and cardiovascular health. And finally, cocaine. This is a powerful stimulant from the coca plant. It floods the brain with dopamine to create a temporary, intense euphoria, but it carries massive risks. We're talking paranoia, heart complications, and severe psychological deterioration. And then, of course, there's tobacco. It's actually surprising and a bit sobering to realize its staying power. Going back over 4 centuries, tobacco consumption became a deeply prevalent practice. Fast forward to today, and widespread use just continues unabated, completely despite modern public health warnings and irrefutable links to cancer. Looking ahead, this just really highlights the ongoing, urgent need for aggressive cessation support and awareness. Let's be absolutely clear about those dangers too. Whether it's smoked, chewed, or snuffed, the highly addictive nicotine in tobacco violently spikes your heart rate and blood pressure. These immediate physiological shocks aren't just harmless buzzes. They carve a direct path to severe health issues, including various forms of cancer, debilitating respiratory diseases, and major heart complications. Part 3. The fast track to addiction. We really need to rethink how we view addiction. It is not a failure of willpower or just a bad habit you can easily kick. It's a neurological condition, and it forms swiftly with repeated use. That overwhelming craving for artificial highs literally short-circuits the brain's reward system. This leads straight into a cycle of increasingly risky behaviors. It's this rapid, uncontrollable acceleration from casual experimentation to complete debilitating dependence. It creates a brutal whiplash effect. It starts with the initial high, chasing that intense euphoria, often driven by that teenage desire for adventure we talked about. But the second the substance leaves the bloodstream, the user crashes violently into withdrawal. We're talking severe, crippling anxiety and intense nausea. In lots of cases, these physical withdrawal symptoms are so overwhelming that people require managed, professional medical care just to survive the detox process safely. Part 4. Long-term health consequences. Let's look at the systemic toll this takes over time. Well, actually, before chronic disease even has time to set in, the immediate threats are absolutely terrifying. Wildly reckless behavior and the very real risk of a fatal overdose hang over every single use. It literally only takes one bad decision or one laced substance for that heightened risk to turn into an irreversible tragedy. And over time, the devastation becomes entirely systemic. Chronic substance abuse ravages the liver, destroying its ability to filter toxins. It permanently damages the nervous system. And tragically, if a pregnant woman is using, these toxins easily cross the placental barrier, posing a severe, life-altering threat to unborn fetuses. The damage just ripples relentlessly through the user's entire body, and devastatingly, right onto the next generation. Part 5, Spotting Signs and Prevention. How do we actually stop this? Early intervention is absolutely crucial, and it relies on your vigilance. It rarely starts with some huge dramatic event. Usually, it's subtle behavioral shifts. Watch for a sudden, unexplained plunge in academic performance. Notice if they're retreating from their close friends and just isolating in their rooms. Pay close attention to abrupt shifts in their daily routines or personal hygiene. Spotting these subtle red flags early on is our very first line of defense. Once we recognize the warning signs, we have to build a proactive shield of prevention. This means fostering radically open, judgment-free communication between adolescents and adults. By actively educating young people on the harsh biological and social realities of substance use, we create a supportive, informed environment. And that is exactly what empowers teens to make confident, individualistic choices that are actually strong enough to withstand the intense daily peer pressure they inevitably face. So to combat this rising threat and actually pave the way for a healthier generation, we've got to move from just understanding the problem to real-world action. The knowledge we uncovered today is only as powerful as what we do with it in our homes, our schools, and our communities. So the big question remains, through education and proactive involvement, what steps